Good
Excellent.
morning, good afternoon, good
I
evening.
know we're gonna have a huge turnout for this. We've had over like 1,000 people sign up for this or more. I think it's over 1,000. It's been crazy.
That's good. That's
I
good.
know, and they're gonna be great. So anyway, hi everybody. I'm Kendall Tyler, and I'm the host of the SAP Book Club. And I got to do that plug. I also work for DXC. I made a sign this time so everybody would know. So if you don't know who DXC is, it is the HP and this long story. So HP and CSC merged and became DXC. Everybody goes, who's DXC? That's who we are, 35-year-old SAP consulting firm. But today we have two great guests with us today who wrote the book, SAP Activate. And I know there's the titles, and it's by SAP Press, which is hosting us. And we have two really cool people on the phone today. We have, ready for this? See if I can do the right. I've been asking him all day how to say their name. It is Jan Musil out of Pennsylvania, who works for SAP. And we also have Srivatsan Santhanam. Did I do that right? Who is out of India. And so I'd love to kind of turn it over to these guys and they can kind of intro themselves. And then we'll start some questions. We'll do 30 minutes about just me asking them questions, which are the questions that everybody wants to know because I do too. And then we'll open it up to the floor and everybody can ask questions in the chat and we'll have some fun with this. So let's start with Jan.
That's awesome, Kendall. Thank you. And before I start my introduction, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. Sven Deniken, who was supposed to be here and unfortunately had the conflict that he sends his regards. He sends his regards to all our readers, all our users. And we are hoping we're going to do a good job representing him as well, because it was supposed to all three of us. As far as me, I'm Jan Musil. I've been with SAP for a long time. Little math quiz. I started in '95. So you can do the math. I started in SAP in small unit in Czech Republic. And as you do in small unit, you do pretty much everything. So I started doing consulting, pre-sales, sales. I pretty much did everything except HR, finance, and legal, because I don't have qualifications for that. So that's kind of my past. Currently, I'm running a team that's building SAP Activate, and we work very closely with our customers, partners, and internal colleagues to make sure that Activate stays up to date and that we deliver the product up-to-date content to you all. So that's really my background, and I'm really excited about this new book. It was interesting. We wrote the first one 2 years ago, and then we got to talk with SAP Press about a year and a half ago, and some ideas popped up that we may be running another one. So we did, and I'm really excited about it because there's a lot of new stuff, and we'll get into it in this session.
And you're the chief product owner of SAP Activate.
I am the chief product owner of SAP Activate. Yes,
that's pretty cool correct. At SAP. So, but we have another chief product owner who is Sri. Go ahead, Sri, introduce yourself.
Thanks a lot. So I'm based out of Bangalore, guys. Again, trust you guys are all staying safe in this world. I'm wherever you are. My regards for you guys to get well soon and have a great life. Yeah, I mean, as Jan mentioned, right? I mean, we've been here trying to get through the second edition. We're super excited, looking at brand new contents coming into this book. A quick brief about me. I head the Concur Engineering Division. I head the Concur Engineering Product Development Division in Bangalore now. Before this avatar, in my earlier avatar was me, Jan, Sven Deniken. We were in the same org of S4 HANA, where I was incubating the two-tier ERP or the hybrid cloud deployment solutions. And that's where this thought of hitching on idea came together and we started off. Me, I've been with SAP for about 20 years. I mean, been a long time in multiple roles, but yes, pretty much now in supporting this initiative of Activate for multiple deployment option on-premise on-premise, cloud, hybrid, whatever be that, or success factors, whatever be that, we want to see how Concur also evolves here. But yes, Activate is the methodology of choice for you guys.
Well, I use Concur all the time for my expense report. So I just want to thank you for letting that happen. And so, I think that all of us have so much experience with SAP, and we've seen it like grow and so forth. But the big question I have is, what is SAP Activate? Well, oh, he's on mute.
Muted.
Yeah, I got muted and I couldn't get unmuted, so I'm unmuted now, luckily. So, Kendall, say again the question. I got a little distracted.
Ready? Here we go. What is SAP Activate?
Okay, so I should be able to answer this one.
It's the book.
So SAP Activate really is the framework that we have built for implementation of SAP software, where we provide guided process. Ready to run best practices, business processes, and a set of tools that enable our customers to implement the most efficiently. That's as succinctly as I can say it, because we can also read the 500 plus pages in the book, and that will give you a little more detailed answer on what it means for different solutions, different products, with focus on S4, of course. This book is focused on S4.
So let me ask you this, is Activate only available for S4 HANA?
No, it's not. It's available in, right now, I think we are counting 12 various versions of Activate, and we are currently working to bring it a little more closer together, as you have projects where you have, implementation of hire to retire or order to cash with procurement. You want to have all these components assembled together. So we're building that into Activate right now progressively. But we have started building Activate gradually from what we called a general version of Activate, which was generally applicable across a wide range of solutions, of course, with a lot of kind of skewing towards ERP. And then we build those solutions specifically. So, S4 HANA on-premise with transition to S4. We have S4 HANA Cloud. We have now built the 3-system landscape of S4 HANA Cloud into Activate. Ariba, SuccessFactors. We have Fieldglass. We have Ariba, of course. We have Ariba content, and we are adding Fieldglass content into our Intelligent Enterprise and Concur as well. So there's a wide range of products that you will find in Activate in Roadmap Viewer.
So I was at Sapphire, and there was a ton of SAP ECC customers there. And so how does SAP Activate compare to ASAP methodology?
So that's a great question. Let me think about how to best answer it. So in terms of like the process flow, the implementation process flow, it has resemblance because you always need to initiate, set up, launch your project, set up your team, enable the team, then go through activities of understanding the scope, understanding what needs to be configured, what needs to be extended, and you iterate on extending it. In ASAP, we had this approach of blueprinting and then fairly heavily focusing on as is to be analysis and then detailed blueprints. They were fixed, and then once you fix them, you implemented them in multiple long cycles. Think of cycles as a couple of months cycles, right? Not agile iterations. And then you went live with so I'm oversimplifying, of course. In Activate, we followed the same process, only the focus is on surfacing the Delta requirements based on pre-delivered, ready-to-run business processes that we bring to the table. So we are starting with a foundation of best practices or enterprise management layer in our S4 private or on-prem. And then based on analysis that you do through Fit to Standard, you start surfacing the fit of the solution. That's really the focus. Let's start with the fit. Let's start where we can reuse and maximize that reuse instead of building something new or rebuilding something that somebody already is using as a best practice. But we know that every customer has unique processes, differentiating processes that they need to reflect in the solution. And they do that through identifying the delta requirements that may then result in configuration, extensibility, integration, or data migration, security, all kinds of different topics that can pop up. And those are then implemented or captured in the backlog. And as you have that backlog, you prioritize it based on the business needs, importance of the functionality, sequencing of dependencies, and then you go through your realize phase and realize that backlog in series of sprints. And in most projects in public cloud, those sprints are 1 or 2 weeks long. It's not, I'm not kidding. This is a reality. So 1 or 2 weeks, the teams are building features, configuring the solution, showing it to the customer business users, and promoting it into either staging or production directly.
So all these ECC customers are asking, like, how long does it take to migrate to S/4HANA using SAP Activate? Is it shorter, longer? Is this, I mean...
I'll give you the consulting answers because there's no single answer for all the customers, right? Okay. We have a large population of existing ECC customers. Some have been using ECC for 20 plus 30 years. Some have been using ECC for past 10, right? So the level of customization, level of tailoring of that system, that's in their case, their system, it really sets the foundation for that transformation journey. Is that going to be a more of a technical transformation where you take what you have in ECC, system convert it, and then start improving from that foundation through system conversion? We cover that in the book as one of the options. We're seeing a larger number of customers going through that route now than we have seen in the beginning of the S4 journey.
Yeah.
But we are still seeing a large number of customers that choose that net new implementation or re-implementation, if you will, because it's not driven by technology choices or technology decisions. It's driven by the fact that you have implemented your ECC 20 years ago and your business changed. I'm visiting a customer this week here in Texas, and their business is changing rapidly. I mean, it is something that you need to rethink how you're running your business. So the change is not driven by technology, it's driven by change in strategy and rethinking of what is the business that you're in and how you're going to run that business. Right. So that's really what drives the decision. And of course, we have, as you would expect, in the private cloud and on-premise, you also have a choice of doing kind of both. So you can take part of your business and system convert it and re-implement certain elements to make the best out of that transformation journey.
So since you are the chief product owner, you would know, I mean, this is my thing. So obviously everything changes, right? And I'm sure there are going to be more changes to maybe SAP Activate. And most of the ECC customers are very hesitant about jumping on because they're like, should I wait till the product is stable and mature, or should I jump now? So should they wait? Should they jump? What do you think? Since you know, tell us the secret.
So, and I'm now hesitating how to answer the question. I'm just hesitating to formulate an answer that would not reveal too much detail, but it is really not a decision only about the timing. It's also a decision about how rapidly and fast that business is changing. And for most of our customers, that business is changing rapidly.
Yeah.
We are just, at least on this side of the world, we are exiting pretty stressful 2+ years of pandemic, where all businesses had to go through massive changes. CIOs, CFOs, and organizations are rethinking their previous models. There was this ingrained just-in-time model that we have been running businesses with, which created a lot of the problems that we are dealing with right now with supply issues, right? The lack of components, lack of this, lack of that, and that will have impact on the business. So again, I would not base my decision, if I were in the shoes of the CIOs and CFOs making those decisions, I would not base my decision just on technology. I would base it on the urgency of how quickly I need to change my business. That would be the driving force for me. And for most customers, at least based on the news, based on what I'm seeing, and when I open the Wall Street Journal, it's change after change after change. A lot of things are happening. So I think it makes a lot of sense to accelerate those transitions. So that's one. Mm-hmm. Second, really important part is there is a finite number of S4 experienced consultants, project managers, delivery executives in the world. The longer you wait, the less there'll be, or the more you will need to pay. I mean, let's be real, right? This is reality. The closer we get to that, window or end of that window for transition, the longer you may need to wait for resources, the harder you may need to fight for them. So that's second important consideration.
So a question just popped in, which actually has something to do with this. So usually don't do this, but this is a good one. So they want to know how to proceed if there are too many customizations to fit in to make this happen. Like it's taking so much of the business time. Mm-hmm. How do you work with Activate and be able to do that?
Sri, do you want to give me a second and tackle this? I'll get a breather.
Absolutely. No, cloud is all about standardization, right? I mean, we all know that it's all about how do we run with prepackaged content, which will help you get a faster value for your implementation. Yeah. So it's also about the mental thought process to say, do I have a cloud mindset to say that, am I going to take whatever workloads that are running on my on-premise to the cloud directly? Or do I want to see what does it fit for my business transformation on the cloud and implement that? Yeah. So it's a choice. And that's exactly what we've been trying to say, that it's not just a technical migration, right? It's also about the business transformation that comes in where I choose what is right for me to run on cloud. And if that is the right process to run on cloud, what does it take to have the standard extension mechanisms that is needed to run on cloud? So that's the choice that every product owners or even the head of businesses needs to deliberate on, and they are deliberating that as we move that. So for that, we give them complete choices. Yeah, I mean there are places where we say that, hey, you know what, we can move completely to a private cloud if that's the need. In some cases, it could be a hybrid version, right? I mean, you run some aspects of it in your on-premise environment. We run things which can be standardized. For example, a sales function, or a central finance function, or a central procurement function on the cloud, gain some experiences with how it's happening, and then probably move the remaining workload to the cloud. So that's something that's possible. Or go to the other extreme, right? I mean, I start completely and try to get a completely reimagined business processes on cloud as a starting point, but still retain my complete workload that is there on-premise. So all the three choices exist. So it's a question of how do we really want to get started, and all the three options are deliberated completely in this press book to say that, hey, you know what, we don't want to give you the way to say that this is how you need to do. We give you these three options, and all three are possible, and now you check what is right for your business to move on.
So oh, here comes another one. Another question just popped in, which is good. Can we use Activate?
Kendall, I'm sorry for jumping in. I'll jump in with some of the assets that we have built in Activate to prevent this from happening in the future. So a lot of our customers, as they are starting to implement S4, they may still apply the same mindset and the same principles in extending the solution by going in and modifying the code, or going in and creating their own custom code. That is then, just reiterating the same issue in 10 years that you have today, or in 20 years that you have today. So what we have established in Activate is this concept of solution standardization board, or if you will, design review board, right? That's been established as one of the foundational elements that you set up at the beginning of your project. And then you use that set of design principles to make decisions whether that extension is necessary. That's the first question you're asking. And then if you determine that that extension is necessary, or that integration is necessary, then it's all about technology choices. Are you going to be extending the code in-app? Are you going to be extending it side by side with business technology platform? What technology you will use for integration? And we have actually tied this, and this goes back, this is a very interesting story. So SAP has been talking about 5 golden rules for past, I would say 3 years, maybe 4, right? Very simple rules: use Activate, use best practices as a starting point, document the solution, use modern integration technologies, and use modern extension technologies. And I had a sidebar conversation with one of our partners when we were meeting in person in Utah Square before the pandemic. And the gentleman asked me a question, and I was saying, I get it, I get the principles, but how do I do it? Tell me, how do I do it, right? How do I actually go through from that one slide into applying these principles in very structured way in my project? And that's where the solution standardization board as the governing body came through. That's where the extensibility guide, that's a more technical resource, came through. And the white paper that describes how to use tools inside S4 for monitoring that environment, or how to apply our ALM tools to monitor those changes and then control it. And not only control it in the project, but control it in your COE once your solution goes live. So that's really a valuable piece of guidance that we have built into Activate based on conversations, feedback from our users. And I don't know if we're going to touch on it, but every feedback item that you submit, anybody on this call or anybody that uses Roadmap Viewer, it goes to my mailbox, it goes to my entire team's mailbox, and they have a visibility of all this feedback. So if you have ideas how we can improve, if you have ideas what we can do better, let us know. We definitely drive. About 80% of improvements in Activate is based on user feedback.
Got it. What is the most important phase of SAP Activate?
Well,
ones like
I think some customers would argue that it's discover, some customers would argue that it's prepare, some consultants would argue that it's explore. More, I think, technical consultants that get their hands dirty in Realize would love Realize. They're all equally important. There's no single phase where you can kind of slack off and stop paying attention, right? They're all important, and they're extremely important when you're doing some of the more advanced topics. I don't know, Srini, if you want to talk about the two-tier and fit to standard in two-tier and some of that, because that really requires a lot of attention from architectural standpoint, business process design standpoint, and configuration. So maybe if you want to add some color to that.
No, absolutely, Jan. So I mean, as Jan said, right? I mean, all phases are pretty much important, and is important for the role that a person plays. For example, if you take the first prepare phase, right? I mean, it's all about how do you set it up for the project managers from a governance perspective. How do I ensure that every person are brought together on the right page to execute it in the best possible way? Yeah? So that prepare phase, I would say fundamentally is to get your governance right. But if I move on down the lane from an explore phase perspective, it's all about how do I do a fit to standard workshop? How do I get the standardization running? In a multi-tier or a hybrid cloud environment, it's all about saying that, you know what, I do have certain standard business process. It could be a finance function or a sales office function on the cloud. How do I ensure that these are interlacing exactly with my on-premise functionality or custom code that already exists, right? So how do I tie the integration aspects the right way? How do I ensure that extensibility is done the right way? Extensibility functions done in a way so that as and when my S4 HANA cloud is upgraded automatically like a SaaS product, I don't need to run my custom code checks, right? I don't need to take care of ensuring that whatever I have customized and configured on extended on cloud doesn't get impacted, right? So it's super important that we spend quite a lot of time to ensure that the fit to standard workshops are executed the right way. The right configurations are taken forward. I mean, we do give you, for example, in finance, we do give you a chart of account with a standard set for a given country. We give you the capabilities to say that which of this is configured as a leading ledger and what it needs to be a parallel ledger.
Because aren't there three? There are three scenarios that support the two-tiered environment, and I believe we have.
And I think Sri just lost connectivity. Yeah,
so
that's all right.
We'll kind of help this.
So
there are three scenarios. There's the migration from ECC to S4 HANA and the deployment, and then there's the shared service model. And that's among the group of companies with a two-tier deployment. And then there is running an ERP instance dedicated to all stakeholders as far as running. So those are the three different ways of running the two-tiered. But what's the value that customers can see with a two-tiered environment?
I think Sri is back.
So we were just talking
can you repeat the question because
Sure.
I think Sri will need to hear it.
Yeah, so I was talking about the three different scenarios of running a two-tiered environment: the migration from ECC to S4, the shared service model among the group of companies with a two-tiered, and then there's the running an ERP instance dedicated to all the stakeholders. But what is the value that customers can see with a two-tiered environment, with two-tiered ERP?
Very simple, instant value. I mean, that's something that you really have see it by default, right? It's about accelerated value because you're going to go live faster. You're going to see incremental innovations coming into you for consumption without impacting your on-premise environment, if at all we go in a hybrid world. Yeah, and your shared services model is super efficient here. Yeah, so you can, whatever is really your cost-conscious model, where I want to ensure that my procurement functions are running the right way. I have the right set of maybe the contracts executed with my suppliers or with my various other sales contracts executed. I'm able to get economics of scale going, right? I'm able to centralize it in one function. So I do have cost by default given to you as the advantage of cost given to you. And hence that's coming back to you from a lower TCO perspective, right? Because I know that wherever procurements we can operate in different functions and different environments are centralized. So you do save a lot on cost. And of course, the best part about it is, as and when we upgrade it on a regular basis, we ensure that this is reliable for your business processes without impacting your business process. And this is something that is super value that customers have seen. I was talking to another customer the other day where the customer said that, you know what, the best part about the hybrid cloud deployment for me is I can innovate at a pace or move the workload at a pace which I choose, right? For example, if I feel that I need to get started with a subsidiary function, I can go there, I can see the value, I can really try it out. gain some experiences to say that how does this S/4HANA cloud work from a standard cloud, and then maybe convince my on-premise customers, right, or my on-premise headquarter companies to say that, you know what, this is how subsidiaries are running efficiently. Now let's also put a plan in place to move our other workloads also to cloud. Yeah, so that's been our fundamental advantage if we put a look at it.
Excellent. All right. Well, here we go. It's time for questions. Whoop, whoop. We have a lot in the queue. So they're actually kind of very similar. Most of them are asking, people are asking kind of the same thing, but different ways. So here we go. Can we use Activate to implement SAP ECC, or is it for S/4HANA? And is ASAP still valid for implementing SAP ECC to S/4HANA?
So 2 questions in one. Let me tackle the first one. So inside SAP Activate, I mentioned that we have those general roadmaps. We have a general roadmap for on-premise and general roadmap for cloud. I would recommend customers that are getting into their ECC implementations or continuous innovation in ECC to use those assets because they're more up to date than anything that you will find in Solution Manager as old ASAP content that you may still have access to. ASAP content has not been updated since about 2013. So that's 9 years. And there is a lot of change that happened in 9 years, even for ECC customers. So I would recommend that you use those assets in Roadmap Viewer. When you go to Roadmap Viewer, just navigate through the roadmaps. It's the last tab on the right side. When you access it, I can visualize it. And then select that as your favorite, and you can access it anytime in Roadmap Viewer.
Perfect. And people are also, well, here's another one. In the book, do you have any case studies for SAP ECC to S/4HANA using the Activate methodology?
So we have covered the transition path for all 3 scenarios that we discussed. Whether you are moving into on-premise, we also covered a new implementation system conversion for private cloud, as well as new implementation for public cloud. So all those scenarios are covered in there. We provide resources and materials. As far as specific customer case studies, I would recommend a little more recent content rather than written book. There's a lot of great testimonials from Sapphire that was just 2 weeks ago or a week ago. Mm-hmm. And they are all recorded. You can access them. If you follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, one of these posts, social posts, I just scheduled them last night, is going to be bringing you to those assets on sap.com, because all those sessions are recorded. And I think they're more valuable when you hear them from the customer than when you hear them from SAP.
Yeah. And also, what about, go ahead.
Yeah, just adding on to that. I mean, you do find those tips and notes that we have included in our quite a lot of notes that we have included as tips in our SAP Press book, which is kind of experiences from the customers we have gained. Yeah? So there's a lot of experiences that we have gained, which we have collected and put in as short tips, which will help you in your implementation as well.
So does Activate support AI and RPA?
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is when you go through the Activate content, you will find guidance that will basically start with exploring the AI and RPA scenarios early in the process. So we start in prepare phase and then take you through using those scenarios and pre-built RPA bots to design the process. So it's used throughout the explore phase, and then we build on that as you go through Activate. We have worked quite diligently about 2 years ago with our team that's focusing on AI topics to create the initial content in Activate for AI and RPA, and we continue to enhance it. Just recently, we have added business-driven configuration questionnaires into Activate around these AI topics, and this is an asset that gets continuous updates as we progress. You'll also find it's a menu of these RPA use cases and AI use cases for different parts of the solution inside Activate, and that will help you to steer the conversations in fit to standard when you're exploring how to use those technologies to your advantage.
Yeah,
and just adding on to it, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't see these AI and RPA as a separate one. You will always see that as a part of the business processes. Yeah, so this is all about bringing value to the existing business processes. So you will see that it's completely interlaced in that business process. But just for usability, we would have tried to give it as another dimension. But in most of the cases, it's not a standout capability. It's a different, separate function. It is something that brings value to your existing business processes.
So I'm going to ask the question that everybody is very curious about is RISE. So and everybody's like, just kidding. Okay, so it was the huge topic of Sapphire. So how does Activate and RISE, how does it work?
It's very simple. Activate, we have designed Activate to support customers that are subscribed through RISE contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So with all the additional components that they get access to through RISE contract, whether that's BTP credits, access to some of the Signavio capabilities, or access to Ariba Starter Pack, they'll find information how to utilize those components throughout the project lifecycle. There is a lot of new content that we have added into Activate before RISE was even announced. As you all know, RISE was announced in January of last year. And my team has worked very hard to get the content ready for the customers on day one. So when RISE was announced, the Activate content was available and ready. Of course, in the beginning, the usage pattern was mostly in the beginning, early stages of Activate. So most of our users were looking at discover and prepare phase as they were getting started or deciding whether to go the RISE way or some other way. And we're seeing a lot more traction in latter phases of Activate as these customers are moving on with their implementation or are going live with their implementation. So very much supporting RISE comprehensively, and we have assets that support consultants, customers, and our own employees in implementing RISE.
Perfect. And here's a question for you. These are going to be some quick ones, okay? Does Activate work in a brownfield migration to S4 HANA?
Srini, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I mean, it again, as I said, right? I mean, the brownfield, greenfield implementations, again, it depends upon whether are you really looking at a technical migration or a functional migration, right? If you're going to reimagine processes and move forward, yes, we do have the fit to standard, the content pre-delivered template, and the guided procedures to take it forward. Yeah. So if you have decided to move certain aspects of your function to cloud, Activate is the methodology for you to move forward. It really doesn't differentiate about how do you do it. Of course, how do you move the data, how do you slice the data, and other things are all functions which technically will help you. Various other technical methodologies will help you, right? Whether am I really going to do say, for example, a slicing of the data which is like 10 years old and then try to bring it into my cold store? Am I going to bring my last 2 years of data into a warm store? All these are other functions which will also be supported from an Activate perspective. But the overall methodology of how do you move remains the same.
Okay, so can you leverage Activate inversion upgrades like 1809 to 2021? That was a question. You can. Yes,
you can. So there's a dedicated upgrade roadmap. So again, I'll try to bring people into Roadmap Viewer. Roadmap Viewer, if you look for SAP Activate Roadmap Viewer in your Google, it should be your first hit. Just go into that Roadmap Viewer, click on Explore Roadmaps, and there are 4 tabs at the top: Cloud, on-premise, upgrade, and general, right? So in the upgrade roadmap, you will find the upgrade content for both our public cloud and private / on-premise customers. And the upgrade roadmap covers the technical upgrade as well as technical upgrade with functional enhancements. Because if you have started your implementation with maybe a footprint of finance and you want to expand into more of a logistical footprint, you want to be adding those functions in your next upgrade or after the upgrade. So depending on which approach you choose, Activate will support you through that process. So that's covered in those roadmaps. That's why we have 12 roadmaps, because really, if you look at net new implementation or system conversion, it's fundamentally different undertaking than upgrading a system from one release level to another.
Someone wants to know, is there an implementation guide for Solution Manager with Activate?
So it is and it isn't. So Solution Manager falls into the category of the tools that are supporting execution of Activate, right? So depending on which version of functionality in Solution Manager you're using, whether you use standard Solution Manager or you apply Focus Build, Activate is designed to leverage the functionality of Solution Manager. So Solution Manager gives you capabilities for solution documentation, critical component of your implementation journey. Capturing your design, capturing your results of testing, capturing all those elements as you go through the process is critical. Running testing, structuring testing, that's also done through Solution Manager. You will leverage change request management or focus build functionality for supporting you in moving transports throughout your landscape. There's a lot of interplay that comes into the project when you take Activate and our ALM tools, whether that's Solution Manager or if you're in public cloud, Cloud ALM. We are designing Activate to take full advantage of Solution Manager. So, setting up Solution Manager, that's the first thing that we do in prepare phase when we are setting up the project environment. And then we leverage the ALM tools as we go through the project. So that's one fundamental understanding that we all need to have. You're not going to find Activate for Solution Manager. That's not how we think. Activate and Solution Manager work hand in hand, and they really work very closely. Now, if you haven't looked at, and I'll do a little plug here for ourselves as well. If you haven't seen Cloud ALM, I do recommend that you take 20-30 minutes out of your day and go to support.sap.com/ and then go through the menu, Application Lifecycle Management, Cloud ALM. There's a demo system where you can play around with Cloud ALM. If you want to, stand up a project, assign Activate to it. In Cloud ALM, all those steps take about 7 minutes total. There's no uploading.
That's not oversimplification.
And that's just setting up your implementation project and getting everybody a set of tasks that are pre-delivered. There's a lot of improvement that SAP brought from learnings of what we have experienced with Solution Manager with customers and what is needed in cloud. Yeah. Right? In cloud, the needs are different than in on-premise. There are certain elements that are very similar, but the way we are implementing cloud projects is different. And I encourage everybody on this call to start dipping their toes into this cloud world. I know a lot of you are already doing that, but if you haven't done that yet, start playing around with S/4HANA Cloud trial environment. Get a feel for the solution. Look at how it's implemented. Listen to sessions with SAP S/4HANA Cloud customers that are going through these fit to standard workshops very diligently, capturing the backlog, running their bi-weekly sprints. There's a lot of great stuff that they can get access to without any fee, any spending,
Nice.
a lot of self-learning that they can use. And of course, we are covering all these topics in the book. So if you look at chapter 4, you will learn about Cloud AI. I think it's chapter 4. I don't remember. Maybe it's 3 or 5, but it's close enough.
Here's another question for our organization uses a scaled agile framework for scaling our agile processes. How do we use SAP Activate?
I'll take this one. I've been having these conversations with customers for past few years now. We started having those conversations mostly with larger customers that have the bandwidth and the need for scaling agility. So if you don't know Scaled Agile framework, it's a standard that Scaled Agile organization introduced for organizations that are scaling agility. Think tens, hundreds, thousands of people that need to work in sync across the organization. So large, massive projects, typically programs and activities of that nature. When you look at Activate and Scaled Agile, there are a lot of elements that are the same. If you start from bottom of Scaled Agile, basically the way the team executes is exactly the same as we execute in Activate. The way we structure teams, the roles, responsibilities that we have in the teams, the way we manage backlog, the way we iterate and deploy on demand, that's common. That's exactly the same. As you move up that framework, you're going to start to see slight divergence or maybe a little more firm focus in Scaled Agile, where they split into these program increments and then drive all the planning and execution from those program increments. And Activate nicely fits into those increments. We're actually right now, I don't want to reveal too much and make any specific commitments because,
Everybody listen.
But nobody's listening, exactly, just the three of us talking. But we're working on a white paper, a material that will help Scaled Agile framework teams adopt Activate in their environment. I have posted a blog post about it in 2019. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Sean can find it and post it in the chat, but if you look for Scaled Agile, my last name, SAP, that's going to be the first thing that will pop up. And that details out how these two work together. So if you think about it, SAFe is how you run your environment, how you run your organization, and Activate slots into SAFe. It's not that we are trying to replace SAFe with Activate or that SAFe can replace Activate. In SAFe, you're getting this industry independent generic framework that will help you scale agility. With Activate, you're getting SAP specific project methodology or program incremental methodology, if you will, that will help you implement those program increments. So that's something that I would suggest that people look at.
Okay, so one thing that people are wondering, here's the question here: why limit SAP Activate to only Scrum methodology and not like Kanban or XP?
It's a great question. When we created Activate, Scrum was the most popular Agile methodology. It has a lot of fundamentals that are used across the different Agile frameworks, mm-hmm. and it plugs in nicely. We looked at all I think it was 14 or maybe 16 Agile frameworks at the time when we were looking at it, and you need to make choices. I mean, I cannot envision that we would be trying to manage complexity of managing, 4, 6 Agile frameworks in Activate. It gets confusing. It prolongs that implementation process because the learning and enablement is a significant part of what you need to do in any project. If you're taking business users, I'm thinking about my wife. She's in finance. If I take her from finance into SAP project, she needs to learn about SAP. She needs to learn about the technology. She needs to learn about Activate. She needs to learn Agile. There's a lot of learning that needs to happen. So we're trying to make some smart decisions of what to use, and aligning with the, you know, with the most accepted Agile framework was the decision that we made back then.
So are there reporting tools in Activate?
Reporting tools, you would find them in ALM, so Solution Manager or Cloud ALM, and they are tied to Activate. So if you start playing with Cloud ALM and you simulate the entire project, you'll get AI support telling you what you should be doing in terms of assigning roles, responsibilities, timelines. You'll get visibility of requirements. You get visibility of compliance with certain standards that are built into the tool, as well as visibility of how your project is going. So again, going back to what I mentioned previously, Cloud ALM or ALM tools and SAP Activate, they work like this. They work very tightly connected. So we are leveraging the tools for reporting, and Activate is providing the framework within which we report.
Okay, so I'm asking the big one. What's new? What are we going to look forward to? What are you working on? What are the like top secret things happening?
Srini, why don't you, Sri, why don't you get started?
And then my expense report. What's going on with that?
What's going on with this version? I think this is a completely redesigned version from a content perspective from edition 1. Massive amount of details and other things have come in this version, right? From not only the function of methodology of Activate remains the same, but a lot of content of how do I do it for private cloud editions, or for example, hybrid deployments, new scenarios in hybrid deployment, or how do I really move the various workloads in different ways, right? So, excuse me. So multiple ways, and how do we move these workloads, and all these have been added afresh, right? And of course, the ALM part, Jan touched upon, right? This was, Cloud ALM was also evolving as we speak about 2-3 years ago, and that's also there. There's a lot of stuff that we have done in ensuring that how does Cloud ALM work along with Activate for your Activate functions for either for S/4HANA Cloud or the S/4HANA on-premise functions here. So all these things, of course, you will find quite a lot. Quite enriching to read. Of course, that's what we believe. And of course, AI ML content, right? The dimensions that we spoke about some time back. So there's lots and lots of information that you would see that how do I enable the RPA bots that are there. Quite a lot of bots that we have introduced, which will ensure that you can also have a great way of optimizing the way you run, or automating the business processes that are quite mundane in nature. Yeah. So all these are absolutely, afresh in edition 2.
Yeah. Everything's changing so much. Every business, once they come up with some, like, y'all are probably like, I've never even thought of that. Or, what is that? Or, all these things are happening. So obviously the product's changing as well. If everything moves around and so forth. And, I think that we were talking about the whole, over the past couple of years with the shift in like hybrid work environment versus, how you work with customers that are on site. All of that's changed with your methodology too, hasn't it?
It did, yes. And I think that's a great point, Kendall. We had to switch gears very quickly. I still remember, it was March 2022. I was flying over to San Francisco for our annual developers kickoff meeting in our labs down in Palo Alto. And as I was flying there, they were flying all those COVID patients from Japan over to the US. And that was really, for me, that was the start of the world changing, right? Very shortly after that, it was within a week or two, we were all in full shutdowns, and we were trying to figure out how to do things. How do we sustain projects? How do we sustain delivering value to our customers? So we have done very detailed analysis with our colleagues in services in SAP on what in the project, we have done remotely previously. And to our, not a big surprise, we knew we did a lot of things remotely previously with our offshore, nearshore capacities, all of that. We identified all but 2 things that we did remotely. And those 2 things were fit to standard workshops, which are typically done on site in co-located environment, and cutover. Yeah. Right? Those were the 2 things that were typically done because you need so close, tight-knit team running those things that we prefer to do them on site, including our cloud implementations. So we had very clear plan. We need to develop a guidance for running them in remote way, and we did that by May. By May, we had guidance out there based on customer projects that we have shifted into remote delivery. We had cutover playbook that was used in that May, June, July to bring customers live in Europe. It's something that we have done. Now it's natural for everybody because we lived in this world for 2 years. But if I take you back into that time, that's how we think, that's how we work in Activate, right? We look at the problem, what is the priority, and we bring it into Activate. So don't think of Activate as a static methodology. Don't think of it as something that you learn once and you're done. Because we are bringing new assets into Activate every 2 weeks. My team is working truly in an agile way. So we shipped new content for S/4HANA Cloud today. I just got a notification from my team about an hour ago. It's out there, it's live.
Oh, right? That's great for that.
And this is not staged, this is not planned. In 2 weeks, there'll be another drop, right? So it's new world. We need to be adjusting and rethinking some of the things that we're doing on autopilot. And we do that through this bi-weekly change process. So
yeah, and industries too. I mean,
industry is changing. The learnings from the projects are valuable. We are covering the 3-system landscape for public cloud in the book, and we didn't get to talk about it too much in this session. But that's a huge innovation that's coming to the market. We're running early adopter customers right now. We're running first projects, learning a lot from them. And as we are learning, all those learnings are coming into Activate. We just reviewed the latest learnings. We have taken 85% of those learnings that are already incorporated in Activate for 3-system landscape. So when this solution becomes available to every customer for public cloud, they'll benefit from those learnings. That's a really huge benefit for us as a company, that we brought the methodology topic, the Activate topic, the business content topics from traditionally being in services into product. They're in product now. So we are working in lockstep with what's happening in the product. So all our users that are using Activate will get the benefit of getting the solution and guidance at the time when the product hits the market, rather than waiting 6 or 12 months for team that's outside of engineering to catch up. So I think that's a value that people may not hear a lot about, but that's a huge change that we have made in how my team is structured, how we work with teams like Shree's and other teams around the company. We're much closer to the product in what we do.
Now, I will
talking about collaboration, right? I mean, Fit to Standard, which used to exist as co-located, they started using Moodles, and we said, yeah, we'll also adopt that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, there's a ton of information in this book, and the SAP Book Club is doing 15% off. Just use the coupon code BookClub15, and you guys can get 15% off of this. And it's a great book. Just came out. Actually, so that's the cool part. I got mine straight out of press, which was pretty neat. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for having. We're so thrilled to have both of you here with us. And again, everybody at the book club, thanks again. And SAP Press, you're wonderful. And thanks to all those guys. So just want to say thanks, everybody. And thanks. And you guys have a good one. Cheers.
Thank you, Kendall. Thank you, Sri. Good night, Sri.
Bye.
Good day, Kendall.
Bye.